Hello, everybody. Welcome to Anime Sickos. It's the podcast for geniuses and the only podcast where we take a look at the four pillars, what the fuck, of modern misery, anime, gaming, posting, and shops. I'm Tom, an anime sicko. I've done this 123 times, and I remembered that it was 4. You didn't hear me say 3.
I'm Joe. I don't make mistakes, and I always know the right number to say.
Yeah.
And I'm an anime sicko.
I mean, we're in agreement here. I didn't say 3.
Yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Speaking of 3, which we weren't speaking of 3, so why would I say that? Because I didn't say 3. But speaking of 3, we have 3 new patrons to give shout-outs to before we get to the meat of this episode, and what a meaty core it will be. Gross. First patron, this is a returning sicko hero. They've definitely patronized in the past, and they're getting a second shout-out now. It's the boat sicko Splooty Gooters.
Splooty Gooters used to have like a real boat job.
Yeah.
Like they went off to sea.
I remember one time they posted something effective like they were sleeping on their bunk in the boat where their job was, and they woke up to the fact that the boat had decided to be spewing all of the extremely toxic fumes directly into his face in his bunk, and he had to ask them to please stop doing that. So, hell yeah, Splooty Gooters, thank you for being a boat sicko and liking the show.
Thank you.
Next up is going to be Margot K. Margot. This is actually a funny story. My wife was at the DMV once, and she was getting in line to get her picture taken for her ID, and the person in front of her sat down, and the picture-taking lady was like, "What's your name?" And the person in front of my wife says, "Margot." And the picture-taking lady lights up. She's like, "Oh my God, that's a beautiful name. I see so many names in this job, and it always makes me so happy to see a beautiful, unique name like that. That's amazing." Margot was like, "Oh my God, thank you." And she's like, "All right, now let's get a good picture." And she explained the countdown she was going to do and when she was going to take the picture. And it was accurate, and Margot left happy. My wife went up to sit down. She was asked her name. She has a very common name. She said it. The picture-taking lady then silently took the picture while she was unprepared, and it looks like shit. Anyway, all of which is to say thank you for your patronage, Margot.
Congrats on your cool name.
Yes. And our final patron of the new batch, that's going to be Ben Duff. Ben, thank you for your lovely donation.
I love when you give us money, Ben. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So what are we here to talk about, Joe? We're here to talk about the movie RRR. And I say movie, but it's actually anime.
It's a big live-action anime. Just because they don't have anime eyes doesn't mean it's not anime.
I mean, dude, did you look at Rom's gorgeous peepers? He's got anime eyes.
The most beautiful man. Really rocking a mustache.
God, just the most. I mean, really, that actor is the most handsome man of all time. I think that's not a controversial opinion to have. Like, you see this movie, you try to tell me otherwise, and I will believe you're lying to spite me.
Meanwhile, here, Tom Cruise will be 80
Yeah.
and throwing himself out of buildings.
He looks kind of fucked up these days. But what can you do? It happens to us all. Anywho, Joe, I thought, we're going to spend most of the episode talking about how this movie is anime, in which ways it's anime, why it's good that it's anime, etc., etc. Very similar to our classic episode, Roadhouse is anime. However, we just introduced a 19-point checklist to determine a movie's quality objectively. Feels like it behooves us to run through that real quick for RRR, just to prove before we get into anything else that it is in fact a good movie.
And also that the 19-point system we came up with previously was not a joke.
Yeah,
it represented a lot of rigorous thought.
It was definitely not a joke. We definitely didn't just watch The Northman and think up 19 things that happened in it.
It was more than that.
Yeah. And we can prove that now by going through it. So, RRR, point number 1. Does it have sick melee fight?
Buddy, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's also spec'd in ranged, though, but it does have melee fight.
Yeah, there's tons of melee fight. There's one point where someone does use a ranged attack, an arrow, but it gets stuck in a tree and just barely doesn't go through far enough to go into the bad guy's head. You think the bad guy's safe. But then a sick melee move gets used where our hero does a wall jump off the tree, and in doing so kicks the arrow further and puts the arrow in
murderizes him.
Yeah, that's sick melee fight. So that's ding 1 in its favor. Number 2, is there farting?
No, sadly. There's not a single fart.
Yeah, that's honestly, like, it would have been really easy to put one in. That's a huge miss on their part. We love RRR, but we can't defend its faults, you know. There's no point trying to say something's perfect, you know, own up to what's not good. And what's not good is that no one farts in this movie. Yeah. Does the main character recite his motivation 10 times in a row?
Yes and no. No in the sense that he doesn't recite it. Yes in the sense that it's sung. There's a song about it.
Yeah.
So in many ways it's better than just saying it.
Yeah, we have a montage of our heroes doing badass shit while a song plays that explains why they're doing it and why they are cool to do it. This is an excellent fucking choice, I gotta say. Joe, what's the next point in our checklist?
Is there freaks?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, there's the British are big time freaks for sure.
Yeah, we'll get into the plot in more detail when we discuss why it's anime, but the brief version is we're in 1920s India. It is colonialized by the awful British, and our main two guys wish to and succeed at killing many of them. And they are really made to look like the hugest fucking freaks of all time, which is not difficult to do. Simply portray British accurately, and this will follow.
Yeah, they basically, anytime a British character is met with something unexpected, they just start hitting people. It's basically how I would characterize the British in this.
And also, like, the British characters are played by, like, real British people, and they talk in English. You know, they're not speaking an Indian language, and we're meant to be like, well, you know, it's just movie magic. They're not actually... No, they speak English when they speak in the movie. And even though these are native English speakers speaking English, their delivery sounds like they're speaking, like they're ABBA, like they're doing it phonetically, and they don't really know what these words mean, which really adds to the freak nature of them.
Yes. This next one's easy. Does anyone say multiverse? That's going to be a big no, right?
Yeah, thank God, no. Well, maybe they could have made it work if, like, the multiverse was like, let's quantum leap into a world where there ain't no British, where there's just a big water where that stupid island used to be. There's just Scotland. Maybe Wales sticks around. But no one says multiverse. The next one is there a Shippuden? Is there a time skip where they get powered up afterwards and have a new outfit?
Yeah, so I think we actually have different notes on this. The answer is that there's two of them. There's two Shippudens, basically.
Yeah, what's the one you think that there is?
Ram, as a child, they have a flashback of when his revolutionary village is attacked by the British, and he basically shows that he's super good with a gun, that he's got sniper eyes.
He has fist vision or whatever from Kengan Ashura.
Yeah, and he basically, as a child, pretty much takes down like an entire platoon, and that ends with, you know, obviously an assumed time gap, because then now we see him as an adult. So that was him, like, as a baby, dude.
Yeah, that was him as, like, kid Naruto, and then he becomes adult. That's interesting, because I thought that the other Shippuden was, again, for the same guy, for the same character, Ram. We'll discuss the two later. But he, at one point, he's laid low. He is captured by the vicious British and put into solitary confinement. in order to break his spirit and eventually become executed. Would you believe that neither occurs? But when you come back after like a time skip of him being in jail for a couple of months, not only has he unlocked new powers and he's much more, he has like nature abilities now, but also like he has undergone a costume change. And I said that he was the most handsome man of all time before. Now much more so because he grew his hair out and he's always shirtless now, and he wears fucking like Goku pants. He wears orange flowing pants.
Yeah, he's been doing pull-ups nonstop for several months.
So yeah, 2 Shippuden. So I'm going to give this 2 points. So this undoes the fact that there was no farting. So we're currently at a perfect score. Next, is someone spec'd for magic?
Yeah, so Beam uses Magic Forest goop to heal Ram's broken legs. Like, he rubs just some gel on there and his legs are all better. So that counts as magic to me. And not unlike the Northmen, it involves plants. It counts.
Yeah, he makes a potion. Like if you make potions in a game, that's magic.
He also makes an antidote for a crazy snake bite.
Oh yeah, and when the snake bites its target, the guy who threw the snake at the guy says, "Just so you know, no one has antidote for this. Not even the British have antidote for this. You will die because there's no antidote to this poison." Beam is just like, get me a couple roots and I can make some forest person goop and I will heal easily. And it fucking works. So he's got magic. Beam is the second of our 2 heroes, by the way. Next one. Is there key items?
Oh boy. Yeah, there is. We have the friendship necklace.
Yes. Ram, we'll discuss later. You think he's a bad guy, and you think that this guy's a traitor, but he always has this strange necklace, and you're wondering why this necklace exists. And then later you learn that he's actually, you fool, he's undercover. He's a good guy. He was just pretending to be bad. And the way that you know is you find out that his fiance, who's really nice and good, has the second half of the necklace, and that's how everyone knows that he was good all along.
There's also a holy cord Beam has around his neck.
Oh.
It's just like a necklace without any like ornamentation on it, just a little rope.
And it's just like a holy cord. And at one point he needs to take it off to save his best friend's life. And Beam's like buddy is like, "Don't take off your holy cord. Bad things will happen to you if you do that." And Beam is like, "My friend needs it more than me." And again, we'll get into the specifics, but bad things do happen because when Ram sees that he's wearing that holy cord, shit gets real. Anywho, next up, is there a mini-boss?
Yeah, there's various stern British people that act as mini-bosses.
I really like, there's one real fucking, like, hatchet-faced, dopey-looking, big bruiser British police officer who shows up a bunch of times to menace Beam, and you think, like, this is going to be a mini-boss. And here's the thing about a lot of anime, is that they'll have the protagonist power up, but they're also going to power up all the enemies so that, you know, he still has something to challenge him. But you can't always just do that, because if you never get to see the power-up just wasting guys effortlessly, you never really get to feel in your soul that it is powerful.
You need jobbers.
Yes. If you don't have any jobbers, it doesn't, like, the only thing that's getting across that this is a power-up is that you're being told that it's more powerful. Because, like, it's not more powerful in the sense that it makes it easier to win fights, because these fights are still as hard as ever, so, like, who fucking cares about the power-up? You could have just not made this next enemy powered up and kept the guy at the same level, and it would have been nothing. All of which is to say, RRR does not fall into this trap, because when finally Beam fights this mini-boss, he rinses him with no fucking effort, and it's so satisfying.
Yeah, actually, I don't even remember the fight, because it was not a fight.
Yeah, it was just like, bam, done. Next up, are there mini-games? There has to be mini-games in a movie.
Yeah, there's basically the Yakuza 0 dance minigame that they do. The stern... And I would argue that this British guy that tries to publicly shame them for not knowing how to do cool dances is like a dancing mini-boss.
He is. Oh my God. Yes. Good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's this. What happens is Beam takes a liking to this British lady, and he is invited to, I guess, a soiree. I don't remember the specific event.
A British person's party. So a
Right.
boring party. Nobody is having a heart pumping time, and there's definitely not hot rhythms.
Yeah, so when people start dancing, Beam is kind of caught off guard, and he kind of humiliates himself, and then there's this sort of asshole who acts like a posh jerk who's like, I know many dances. I know all the dances. I know flamenco. I know some other ones. You don't know shit. You know nothing about dancing.
If there's one thing I know about the Indian people is that they are never going to do a big dance. They are incapable of it. And, oh man, would you believe what happens next is Ram and Beam do a big dance, a heart-pumping dance to a fiery beat, and humiliates them all. And the reason it's a minigame is like it's like a dance marathon. Like they're trying to dance so hard.
Yeah, you could lose all your dance health and fall down.
Exactly. Like if you aren't hitting the button prompts right on time, you're taking dance damage, and eventually you just collapse. And the point of the minigame is who gonna be the last dancer. Would you believe that this white British guy who's trying to do the Bollywood choreography, he can't keep up. He's a jerk. He doesn't know shit about dancing.
Weak. His flamenco life has not prepared him for this.
Pathetic. Probably doesn't even know how to play the flamenco guitar. It's so funny. Okay, next up, is there a rageful corpse hound? It's pretty important for a movie to have a rageful corpse hound.
That's going to be a yes for me. Ram, really, he just kills the British a lot. Like, I mean, his childhood scene is him like shooting 30 of them.
Yeah, because I mean, the British attack his village, which is preparing to be a revolutionary village, and they kill like a lot of his friends and family, and that's when he dedicates his entire life to his big long con, so that he can overthrow the British using a grand plan. This is definitely rageful corpse hound shit. He has dedicated his whole life. He basically said, "I will avenge you, father. I will avenge you, mother. I will kill you, all white people."
By joining the cops.
Yeah, well, we'll get to that. Next, is it about downgrading a little town? Is it ever?
Tons of little British bases get downgraded big time.
The governor's mansion in Delhi, I think, is the ultimate little town that gets downgraded. Because like when we first see the inside of it, because the white lady who becomes friends with Beam is like, come to my house and I'll give you coffee. We'll hang out. And they drive through the gates, and it really is just like, oh, he thought it was a house. No, this is a little town. It's like a castle city in the middle.
It's
of
an
Delhi.
estate.
And without getting too much into it, by the end of the movie, it ain't there anymore.
Yeah, there's a crater, maybe.
Next, is there the Joker?
I would say the Joker is the governor's wife is this weird whip pervert.
Yeah,
she's a freak. There's a part where Beam must be publicly flogged.
Yeah, and she is screaming that he is not bleeding enough, and therefore it's boring.
Right, and then she reaches behind her head like a cartoon character pulling out a hammer and produces a whip that has like nails in it, and she's like, please use this one instead.
Yeah, she is the Joker. Also, she has had extensive, very obvious plastic surgery done on her face, which lends her a Joker-esque look and is very appropriate for what this movie is trying to do, because it again makes the British look like freaks. Next up, if historical. So this one applies to RRR.
Like this happened, right?
Yeah, this is all true.
Yeah.
So does anyone in the movie have modern ideology? Now, of course, the correct answer is no. But unfortunately, for this one, I'm afraid it's yes. Specifically, the modern ideology of the British are not people.
However, that is always true, so this one gets a pass.
Yeah, that's modern and historical. There's never a time people didn't think that. So yeah, another win for RRR. Next up, does the main guy behave morally at all times?
So Ram, I would say, does not, because he has to be a cop for 20 years to get all of his experience points,
Yeah, it's
so
very
he can
bad.
get access to the gun escort mission so he can start a revolution.
Yeah, so it's bad that he's a cop, but good that he did it to kill the British. So I would say he is neutral overall.
And then Beam is sort of like a child of the forest. He's a Goku-like person.
Yeah, totally unimpeachable, and has never done anything wrong. So I think this is another win for RRR. So far, we have a perfect score.
Yeah. Is there nudity? No.
Perfect score gone. No one gets nude. Sorry.
There's no hanging nuts.
Yeah, no nuts, no butts, no coconuts. Is there a coconut? I don't think there's a coconut.
No. There's a part where Beam throws some spherical container at a tiger to knock it out, and I thought it was a coconut at first, but it was like just a alchemy ball.
Yeah, no, it was a forest person goop. It was a sleep grenade. Because you could see that the tiger has green dust on its nose and gets sleepy. Next, is there violence sick enough to break through the dead layer of apathy that the world has draped us in?
Does it ever? Oh my gosh!
I think we can leave that to the is it anime part, because man, oh man, I don't want to tip my hand about what kind of shit goes on in this movie without it being like in a segment where we can really do it justice and like get into it. Just
so in short, big yes.
Oh yeah. Next, is it possible to hear what the characters' names are?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really a shame. They say Ram and Beam very clearly.
It is not mumbly, and also the subtitles help.
Also, it's in subtitles because you have to read their names. I would have loved to not know what their names are, but unfortunately I do. So that's 2 marks against RRR for right now. And then, of course, the final point in our scale is, does the main guy display Goku-like behavior?
Beam, obviously, yes. I touched on that early.
He's a feral man who lives in the forest and loves to make friends. This is Goku all over.
And Ram is like basically a Vegeta type, because if we allow the comparison for the British police force to be equivalent to Frieza's forces,
I agree. Yes.
I see some similarities.
And also, like Vegeta and Goku, Beam has no game, whereas Ram has a ton.
Yes.
Okay, so with that said, we have 17 checks out of a possible 19. That means that RRR has scored 89% out of a possible 100 in the movie quality ranking.
Making this a B+ or an A-. I don't care.
I think I'm going to give it an extra point for being anime, which we will prove right now. So 18 out of 19. Buddy, that's a 95. That's a solid A, and I think that's what this movie fucking deserves. So, Joe, we've proven that the movie is good. Now we got to prove that the movie is anime. First of all, I think nothing says that stronger right out the gate than the absolute showmanship that even creeps in to the disclaimer about animal safety. When I saw this shit before the movie even began, I knew, oh God, I'm in for something. Because Joe, what is this? What would a boring movie have as the animal safety disclaimer?
They would have something stupid like, no animals were hurt during the filming of this. Whereas this movie is like, no tigers, poisonous snakes, elephants, jaguars, wolves, any other cool animals that might kill you. Like, they just list all the shit you're gonna see.
It's just like, wait, are you telling me that there's gonna be the whole zoo on screen in this fucking movie?
And yeah, like, basically the first, what about the halfway point? The major action sequence I would describe as an attack on the British little town in an attempt to downgrade it by driving a zoo at it. And then they do like a Tokyo drift, and then all the zoo animals get flung out and immediately start racking up combos.
The word that I wrote in my notes was they shoot a wall of the zoo at them. Because, like, this truck is, as you say, it's got a big, trailer that has just a big tarp over it. And it does a Tokyo drift. And as it's drifting, and as the sort of trailer is now perpendicular to the direction of motion, the tarp shoots off. And there's just a wall of animal cages with the zoo in it. And they all open. And as the truck screeches to a stop, a wall of the zoo literally shoots out. And I'm just like, okay, this is a good movie. Another reason that this movie fucking whips and is anime is that it knows how to do character intros. We don't get the title card until fucking 40 minutes in. The rest of it, everything prior is just showing you all the characters in a row and having them do the coolest shit you've ever seen in your life.
How would you describe the melee fights? I would say it's like you're watching Yakuza Heat actions one after another, and every single one is one you haven't seen yet.
Okay, a lot of this movie gives me Yakuza game combat vibes, and that is a huge compliment. So we meet Ram, one of our two main guys, and to your devastation, he's a cop. There's a big sort of demonstration occurring at some British consulate or what have you, like a little outpost of theirs, and
some town that definitely needs to get downgraded.
Yeah, it's a little funny town, and there's a bunch of Indian people outside the gates being like, "Fuck you, you've done something we hate. We're gonna riot," and a guy who's wearing all red, whereas everyone else is wearing white, throws a rock, and it hits a picture of the king. And the fucking British guy in charge says, "Somebody go arrest that man," which is an insane order because he's like 100 feet away. And there's 1,000 angry guys.
The crowd is huge. The crowd is so big. And they're pissed.
Obviously, every cop who's standing guard just sort of goes, "Ee," and does nothing. And no action occurs. Nothing sick happens, right?
No, you're wrong. Some sweet shit does happen. Ram throws himself into the crowd and extracts this one guy in red. And
really a bad move on his part wearing that red.
Yeah,
it's
for
easy
sure.
to tell where he's at all times.
And he does so by basically with a stick beating up an entire city.
Yeah. This scene is, oh man. If it weren't that Beam gets just as sick of an intro scene immediately after this, I'd be like, this is the best intro in all of cinema. Because you think how is he going to get through this angry crowd to this guy and also take him back? That's the thing. He has to go out and get him and then bring him back. So how the fuck is that going to work? Obviously the easy thing would be to do that sort of classic martial arts movie move where only one guy attacks at a time. So although there is a crowd, it really is just a series of one-on-one mini fight set pieces.
Yeah, Dynasty Warriors shit where there's just guys standing around.
Yeah. No. They mob him like a mob would, and he does his best to crack people on the head with his nightstick and get some distance. But multiple times he is absolutely mobbed, and there's a few times where he is just dogpiled. There's 10 guys just laying down on top of him.
There's a really nice shot I would describe as him being stuck in a cave of guys.
And the choreography of how he just wrenches out one arm, and then with that one arm, what can he do to fuck up this one guy above him? And then with that one guy above him gone, how does he able to free his right leg? And then with one free arm and one free right leg, how can he then get some leverage to pull out his left? And like you see him get out of it, and it whips ass. He finally gets to the guy. There's one point where he is trying to push these guys who are trying to mob him off of this big hill that they're on, and it's a rocky hill, so when they fall down, it fucking looks like it hurts real bad. And I love this because this is pure anime. Because, like, he doesn't have a special technique. It's just, like, 10 guys pushing against one guy, and he just is stronger than them. And they, one by one, fall down the hill until he's the only one.
Well, his resolve is much higher, Tom.
He does have high resolve, which at the beginning, you know, all we know about this guy is that he's a cop. And I don't want a cop to have resolve. So, I when I was watching this, I had a lot of trepidation in my heart. Because I'm like, this is the most handsome man of all time. His mustache is fucking gorgeous. His hair, despite being in the midst of a very brutal fight, his hair never changes shape once, which is a very anime move. His hair stays perfect constantly. But he's a cop, so I don't know how to feel. Like I like that he's doing sick combat, but like, please be killed, sir. I hate your ideology. It's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know initially that, like, is this them showing how powerful the bad guy is going to be, like the right-hand man of the evil people?
Yeah.
Is this like a mini-boss preview? No, it's a main character preview because his heart is pure.
Yes, but we don't learn that until much later, when he's done some really heinous stuff in service of his pure goal. Anywho,
Yeah.
That's a pretty sick intro. Surely there couldn't be another sick intro for another main guy. Probably only one main character in this movie. It'd be crazy if the movie had two main guys, right? They didn't do that, right?
Not only is there two main guys, the main theme is that they love each other very much.
Yeah, this is basically a movie about us.
Yeah. When I was watching it, I was like, this is so us.
So we cut to the forest, and there is a chiseled man with a beautiful body standing shirtless in the water, and he does this incredible fucking pose that is way too like ornate and sculpted. It is to be real, a JoJo pose. All he's doing is pouring blood over his head so that he becomes an attractive target for an animal they are attempting to trap. But he does like a Greek sculpture pose, and it goes into slow motion and like male gazes all over his glistening body. It rules. This is Beam. This is Beam, our forest friend.
And what he's doing is he's trying to get a wolf to chase him back to the trap, so the other people from his village can, after it's trapped, kill it.
Well, no,
what happened?
Did you not put that together? The reason they're trapping the animals is so that they can have a wall full of the zoo
ammo. Oh my God, you're right, the zoo ammo. I was not even thinking of that.
Yeah, dude, because okay. Well, eventually
I thought they were just trying to get a wolf and then eventually a tiger because it was a cool thing to do.
No, did you not notice that when they're like undercover in Delhi, they kept having to bring huge legs of meat and then they shoot them in a little fucking slot of an unmarked warehouse and then walk away?
Well, now I remember it. When you say it, it seems so obvious.
Anywho,
at the time, I just thought it was like the Castlevania thing where you just put big turkey legs in the wall.
It's for later, for when you're injured. Okay. No. So he's trying to catch a wolf, which is pretty dope. He's running away from this wolf. This wolf's got no fucking idea how good of a runner Beam is. He's a child of the forest. He knows the forest better than the wolf. And then... they didn't plan this. A fucking tiger shows up, and now the wolf is like, fuck this, I'm gone. Now he's running against a tiger. And we get, just, again, a very anime scene. They get the tiger in the net. He runs to where, like, the net is, the place they're trying to bring the animal they're trying to trap. And the tiger gets in the net. But it's much stronger than a wolf. So the little stake in the ground that's holding the fucking supports in place snaps. And two ends of the net's ropes fly in opposite directions. And Beam, just in time, catches one in each hand and is holding them together by himself against the strength of the tiger. The tiger lunges up to kill him, but the strength of his wonderful his, the strength of his beautiful body, holds the tiger at bay, inches in front of its face. It roars very loudly in its face, intimidatingly, you might say. I, at this point, yell out as loud as I can in my home, roar back. And he does.
Yeah. Yeah. He goes to, with great strain, because it's a huge feat of strength, to try to feed the hook through an eye hole that would, eventually brace the tiger so it can't come anymore. And as he's about to get the hook through the eye hole, the whole thing just snaps.
Yes. And this is very funny to me because, like, the hook, the way that this sort of net setup looks is that, like, of the two ends of the rope he has, one is a hook and one has the eye hole, yeah? So you put the hook in the eye hole and then they hold together. And then the tiger's trapped and the net is tight. Okay? Yeah? Like, we get this. We see it happening, and our brains that have seen movies before understand, like, yeah, that's the goal. That's what would happen. Yes. But also, like, the only reason Beam is in this scenario is that the eye hole and the hook were both hooked not to each other, but to a little dinky piece of wood that they had hammered into the ground that snaps immediately. So, like, wait, what? I don't really
Poor
give a shit.
planning.
It's very fun. And another reason that this is anime, the whole time that he's doing this, holding the tiger at bay with naught but his bare hands and his resolve, there's like 10 of his forest friends standing around watching, doing nothing. Much like other stand users in a JoJo's fight, just watching, being like, wow, Naranci is really having trouble. Well, it's not until he, like, says out loud, please throw a sleep grenade at the tiger, that they just instantly do it and the tiger gets KO'd right away.
Yes. And then he's loaded into the zoo truck, presumably.
Yeah. Oh, we also didn't mention the original intro. The whole reason that there is a conflict at all is the governor and his awful wife, these British idiots, are in a little village visiting the natives, doing a little tour of their dominion.
Doing some colonialism, just a little.
And Joe, they very quickly, with no time wasted, in pure anime fashion, established that these fuckers are the worst people in the world, and wouldn't you love to see them violently killed? What did they do to establish this, Joe?
Like, if you have any awareness of history, you already sort of know that, like, all right, the British Empire was massive. It subjected countless people to its whims. So you might go in there with already a negative opinion. This movie really makes sure there is no ambiguity, because the awful Duchess lady who, like, loves the whip later, there is a young Indian girl doing henna on her hand and singing her a song.
The song is all about how I love to be with my mother, and it is so important for me to be with my mother. It is very normal for me to be with my mother, and it would suck if I were not.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose for what's about to happen. And the governess is like, I love that song and this art. Here are 2 coins.
And the people, the native people who don't understand the English language are like, he must be a tip for
the great song. Like,
yeah.
She did such a wonderful song. She's being paid for her performance.
So the mother picks it up, accepting the payment, ...
What's actually happening here is the governess just bought this child for 2 coins.
Yeah.
Because she's an awful person.
And as they're taking the child away, the mom is, as you would imagine, freaking the fuck out, running away, being help. Oh, I need my daughter back, please. She throws herself in front of the car, forcing it to stop, and is like banging on it. Please let me have my daughter, please. And the governor's like, this sucks, get her out of here. And a goon is about to execute her with a fucking gun. And then what happens, Joe?
The governor stops the guy from shooting the woman, the mother, and is like, do you know how much it costs to get a bullet from Britain to here? It's not worth it to use it to kill one of these. Just use a stick. So he does. So that's a really nice way to show evil.
Yeah. So really, we've discovered three things in this lovely intro sequence. One, the British are evil, and they have done a great crime. Two,
They're obsessed with accounting.
they're obsessed with accounting as well. Two, Rom is the most handsome man of all time, and he does heat actions like Kazuma Kiryu. However, he is a cop. Tough to say if he's good or not. Probably bad, right? Because he's a cop. Yeah, he's definitely a traitor. Yeah, but we'll see. And then the third thing we've established is that Beam is an incredible forest man who's done no wrong. Also, I think we learned that the fucking girl who got kidnapped is his sister, so that he wants to get her back. That's like the plan for him.
Yes.
And then also another fucking anime thing is pretty soon after that, some representative of the Indian people who like works with the British, he's like friendly with and deferential to the British, goes to the governor and is like, oh, here's what's happening. Here's the status report of my, area. Da, 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 da. Oh, also one more thing. This is pretty important. I hear that you have taken a child from this tribe. He's like, yeah, my wife wanted a child.
The problem with that is Indian John Wick is going to get you now.
Yeah, there's this tribe is very peaceful and docile, in many ways like a herd of sheep. However, when a sheep is taken from the flock, the shepherd will
go
arrive.
sicko mode.
The shepherd will go sicko mode, and he will not stop until his flock is whole. And it's like, and the governor's like, yeah, really? I don't think so. I don't think there's definitely not gonna be anybody trying to take revenge on me. It's so good. It's like, oh my god, I love this. Oh shit! No, I remember how it was. It was after that chilling monologue. That's when we cut to Beam doing the JoJo pose, pouring blood over himself.
Yes.
This shit's anime as fuck. Okay, and Joe, when we finally have all three of our intros taken care of, what needs to happen is we need to have an hour of these two guys being the greatest homies of all time. How do they meet? This is the dumbest shit. I love how they meet.
Okay. Well, I'll just say it right at the top. They meet saving a life in a spectacular way. Basically, I think this is not an oversimplification. A train blows up, and a child that was trying to fish is stranded in the river, surrounded by a bunch of flaming debris. Is that fair?
That's correct. And the train is also it's on like the second tier of a bridge above the river. So like there's a bridge, and then underneath the bridge there's the train tracks. And then there's the river, and like the flaming debris is like falling all around the kid. Kid's gonna die for sure. And up on the bridge is Ram, who has been looking for this fugitive who's threatening the governor. It's Beam, but he doesn't know that. And he sees this nonsense, and he's like, "Well, I'm the most handsome man in the world, so I need to save the child." Beam is down on the riverbank, and he's like, "I am the second most handsome man of all time. I need to save the child." And despite being separated by like half a mile, they lock eyes, Beam and Ram.
Dude, they both have eagle vision. And they make the friendship gaze. And I am not exaggerating, but just by looking at each other, they hatch a plan where they will tie a rope to each of their waists, and one on horse, one on motorcycle, will launch themselves off of the bridge
at opposite ends.
The momentum of which will cause them to swing down by the child. And they also will grab a flag to dip in the water because there's fire everywhere, which Ram throws to Beam when Beam throws the child to Ram, and he drapes himself in it so he takes no damage because of his water stat.
His it sounds like the flag of India. So like his love for his homeland protects him from the flames. It's so fucking like this is such a ridiculous plan because they like shoot themselves off of the edge of the bridge. They then are both like then they both like swing underneath the bridge and they like grasp hands in a homie's embrace and then like grab the kid and talk. Like it's such a high concept, so many moving parts, can't fuck up one's plan. And the way that they formulate the plan is that, again, Beam on the
They looked
riverbank.
at each other.
They do some hand gestures, dude. They do sign language, which like makes no sense. I was looking at it trying to parse what the fuck they were trying to communicate, and I had absolutely nothing. And both of them knew exactly what to do. That's homie.
It's because they have the secret language that only twins have.
Luckily, they're not evil. They're not evil twins, as we know from Eagleheart, the famous quote. Man, perhaps science will one day allow us to live in a world without twins.
Well, the reason they're evil is a twin is only half of one person, so that means they're evil.
Yes, but these are both whole people forming a incredible double man. You know what it is, Joe, is that these guys are podcast hosts. They're co-hosts. That's what it is. That incredible connection that they're able to make with just a look and a few gestures, that's the kind of chemistry that's required to be the anime sickos.
That's true. This is just like agreeing to get on Discord at 3 p.m. It's the same.
And then
it ends with them doing the homie arm grab.
Yeah, and then we get like a full hour-long montage of them just being the greatest homies of all time. Down. This is what we get, a montage again where we have a song playing that describes these two guys. They are very great friends, but they don't know the truth about each other. The real song is better than what I'm singing. They don't know the truth about each other. If it comes out, will something go wrong? I don't know. Here is the song. Dude, I'm like completely expository song pilled now. Like I love that for movies. Like just have a song explain the stuff going
on the nose. Just fucking say it.
I love it. It's so fucking good.
What are some of their friendly bro activities? The one I really like is where Ram sits on Beam's shoulders and Beam does squats. That's fun.
Isn't that later?
No, they preview that.
Oh shit!
Because like.
You're right. Yeah, that happens later, and it's very like it's not funny. It's serious. But like now they're just goofing along. Oh, and that's another thing that they do. So because like it's during the homie montage that they go to the party, and like part of why Beam is allowed to kick ass and like be great and make himself not get humiliated is because Ram notices that the reason Beam was humiliated doing the British dancing is because the bad guy tricked him and tripped him using false pretenses. And so Ram knows that his friend was wronged and has not actually embarrassed himself, and no one should be laughing. And the thing that he does is he teaches... He
knows, actually, I know my friend is very cool.
Yes! And what he does is he goes to the drummer of the fucking British People's Band, and he tells him how to play a hot beat. And he's just... You can see his face light up. He's like, a hot beat! And he plays a hot beat, and he's like, hey, just so you know, me and my buddy... We got the best dance of all, and then they do the best dance of all, and it's like what a king. And also I forgot about this. We mentioned how it's a big dance off, and you know you can lose all your dance HP. And this whole purpose of this is that Beam has no game, and he wants to win over the heart of this nice British lady, the only nice British lady. And Ram knows that he has more dance HP than Beam. But he throws the game. He pretends to get a leg cramp so that his homie looks cool in front of the lady he likes. It's such a good move. And then that's when we get, because Beam has danced so hard that his legs are tired, that he gets carried home by Ram. I wonder if one day Beam will return the favor when Ram's legs fail him.
For sure, and because they get fucked up in prison, but that's later.
Yeah, so good. Fuck. Joe, I think we should we put a pin in the violence shit and how we said we don't want to preview the sick violence before we can give it its own space to really thrive. Let's do that now. Let's talk about the fucking fights and shit. Because eventually Beam finds out where they're keeping his fucking sister. It's in the governor's mansion. And he's like, I gotta shoot a zoo at them.
I must downgrade that sucker.
Yeah, and so he's like, I gotta fucking fight them. That's gonna be a big action scene. Meanwhile,
you know what it is?
What?
Honestly, it is basically how in every Yakuza game there is a sequence where Kiryu ends up storming the Dojo clan headquarters. It's basically that.
Dude, it's exactly that. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Fuck. But meanwhile, Ram has just discovered that actually Beam is the fugitive he's been after this entire time. He's the one he needs to capture, because if he captures Beam, he's going to get promoted to special officer, which is something that he is not able to do legitimately because of racism. He is the best officer, but they just don't promote him. But like they said, they did like an open call. Anyone who catches this motherfucker is a special officer automatically. So he knows, like, I got to catch Beam. And
Yeah.
so
And the reason he wants the special officer status is that he is doing this to do a revolution, and when you are a special officer, you might get a weapon consignment duty, like delivering a bunch of guns somewhere.
And you can very easily just like turn left and go to the Indian village and be like, you're in your guns now. We don't know that at this point though. Until like 2/3 of the way through the movie, you're just like Ram, who's the kindest, sweetest guy, and also Beam's best friend. At one point, Beam is just like, Ram, what really makes me feel happy is our great friendship, which is worth more than my life to me. And Ram's like, I feel the same way. I love you, and being with you is the greatest thing that I can possibly imagine. So we don't know, like, what the fuck is he doing being so evil and being so like cruelly anti-Indian. Like he's doing the work of the whiteys. It's disgusting and traitorous. It's like, it's so much dissonance. I was by the time the backstory came, I was like starving for it. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. There's the big fight at the fucking downgrading the town, because we got Beam on one side, Ram on the other. They're finally gonna fight. We gotta talk about the fucking action, because we got until this point we've got a few fights, but no real like killing. And I'm like, maybe this won't be that violent a movie. And then, as soon as the animals start going wild, like immediately we see a tiger rip a British person's throat out on screen. And it's like, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Beam does a combo heat action with a deer.
Oh my god.
Can you describe it? Because it's very interesting to me that their plan, which was to launch a bunch of dangerous animals at the British, included a deer. And I was wondering, like, did they not know that deer just kind of hang out? This is a very special deer that's very good at teamwork.
Yeah. So what happens is Beam gets it in his head that both of this guy's arms need to be fucked up. Like beyond repair, yeah?
I hate how his elbows bend easily and without great pain.
So he gets the guy's arm in an arm lock. Like he has him in an arm bar, what have you. A good strong hold on the arm, easy to apply pressure that will then fuck the arm up, yeah? So normally when you got a hold like this, you got to worry about how you're only holding one arm, You have the three limbs free that the opponent can use to do whatever they want, possibly interrupt you before you're able to apply fucking up energies into his arm. Well, you see, that's when a deer hits him, going the opposite way, locks his other arm up in its horns, and starts twisting his head, almost wrenching the arm totally off.
It's nuts. It's absolutely nuts. In many ways, just more jaw-dropping than the tiger killing, because it would never occur to me to use this animal like this.
It's so fucking dope. It is, again, definitely a heat action from Yakuza, like 100%. There was one point where I thought to myself, like after a bunch of animal kills had gone down, Beam was doing cool stuff, Ram was attempting to get to him, he wasn't there yet. It's not until like midway through the scene that they actually confront each other, and Beam is struck with the enormity of his friend's betrayal. But I was thinking to myself, like, this is pretty cool, but how do they know that none of the animals are ever going to attack like them, like the good guys? Like, animals don't know who's Indian and who's British. And as I say this, Beam is like standing, he's like hit a lull, he's just going huff, huff, recovering his stamina, not doing much. And a fucking like cheetah jumps on his back and tries to bite his head off.
Yeah, and then he cannonball throws it at a British guy, and then the cheetah does a hurricanrana on the guy and kills him. It's very cool. Like, it's just the neatest thing.
And then, Joe, we finally get the confrontation between Ram and Beam. And it is, I mean...
It's the Saiyan Saga fight, dude. It's Vegeta versus Goku.
I was going to say that it's as close as you get to a live-action Naruto versus Sasuke. But I think the fact that it's both is stronger than it being one of either. Because it is both.
Yeah, it's that much anime.
There is one, I think there is a moment that is like one of the greatest just visual framings of any two combatants. Because at this whole point, we've been describing our two heroes as Ram is fire and Beam is water. They're both extremely powerful.
Yeah, it shows you their specs.
Yeah, both extremely powerful, but opposites. And there's at one point they have like had a little bit of scuffle, but they've broken apart, and they are now taking on their true fighting stances in order that they may begin fighting for real. And what happens is Ram picks up a torch and stands up and gets in his fighting stance, which is coincidentally directly in front of a big box of fireworks that they were planning to use later when there was a party going on. They have lit on fire and are all going off, shooting streaks of fire in an incredible arc behind Ram, framing his wonderful pose.
This, in turn, is contrasted with Beam, who is standing in front of a destroyed fountain which has hoses spraying water everywhere, and he grips the hose, so he has like a water sword.
It is, I gotta say, one of the coolest images I've ever seen in my life. And like, there's at one point, like they also like power up when they fight each other. Like this whole time they've been doing pretty normal stuff. I mean, aside from that fucking shooting a wall of zoo at everybody. But like Beam has been doing like real human things that a person could do, yeah? When he is trying to fight Ram, he like grabs a chain that is like connected to little cement pillars that is being used as like a fence, and he just yanks up one of the cement pillars and is using the chain like as a flail. And
yeah,
he's like,
it's God of War.
It's 100% God of War, except he's swinging around a piece of concrete that is got to be at least 200 pounds. And like when it hits the ground and like Ram just jumps out of the way, it leaves a horrific divot in the soil. And he is just doing this with no effort, and I love it.
This confrontation ends with a shot about a key item. This movie has key items. That holy cord we mentioned that was given to Ram after he gets snake bit.
Yeah, because what happened was he got snake bit because he had captured one of Beam's associates and was trying to torture information out of him, like give up who you're working for. And he's like, I will never give up who I'm working for. And he noticed that this guy is wearing a prayer cord. Very weird. Why is he wearing this piece of shit? And this guy who he's torturing is the one who is able to throw a snake at him. And then Ram is bitten by this poisonous snake and is surely going to die. In the process of saving his life, Beam takes off his prayer cord to give it to Ram. His friends say, if you take the prayer cord off, bad things will happen. He says, my friend needs it more than me. The bad thing that happens is that fucking Ram, as soon as he sees the prayer cord, goes, oh, Beam's the guy. He's the guy. Fuck, I gotta catch you. And so he's like, Beam is hanging off the side of the building because he's trying to jump down to fucking like get the governor. And Ram is able to like grab his wrist with the cord, and he's holding him up by the cord. And you can also see on Ram's wrist is that key item necklace that he is sharing with his fiance back home. And we see their fiance back home very briefly. We see some shots of his backstory very briefly in the first half, but it's hard to know what to make of it. And everyone in the village says to the fiance who's waiting for Ram, like if he's given us up, he doesn't care about us anymore.
Yeah, it's been 4 years or something.
He hasn't given us any updates. He's definitely turned evil. And you can see on his hand this little key item, this necklace, this little pendant, and a drop of blood pools in his eye, turning his eye completely red. And then he sheds a tear made of total blood, and it drops on the pendant. And that's when the first half ends. And folks, did we just describe anime to you? Yes.
Yeah. If we're gonna continue to throw evidence that this is anime, we need to talk about transformations and power-ups because it fucking happens at the end.
It do. I'm just gonna real quick get through the fucking what happens so that we can get to the power up shit. So they find Beam. He's captured. They are gonna kill him. Eventually, Rom realizes that the enormity of his betrayal is too much to bear, and it's not worth all that it took to get this weapon escort mission. He's like, you know what? I can't live with myself. He
gets the Special Boy Award.
Yeah.
He gets the promotion.
But it's hollow. It's hollow. He doesn't feel like it was worth it. So he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not gonna let Beam be hanged. I'm gonna free Beam. And he thinks up a clever concoction to free him sort of surreptitiously, so that it's not like clear that he let him go. However, unfortunately, the worst happens. Two things occur. One, the governor clocks what's going on and knows that Rom is helping out the dangerous criminal. And two, Beam does not clock that Rom is helping him out and still thinks he is an enemy. It's the worst of both worlds. So Beam is free but hates Rom, and Rom is now in jail, ready to be killed in a while. And this is when we have our second Shippuden, because he's been in jail for like a month, and he is just doing upper body exercises totally shirtless the entire time.
Yeah, his jailers say they only feed him once a week.
Yeah, and like it's so fucking anime, because they walk by like normal people in jail, and the governor is like, ugh, does that mean he's going to be as wretched as these people? And the guy's like, oh no, we feed these guys way more than him. He's gonna be insanely wretcheder. He's gonna be so wretched you won't believe it. And he's like, oh, good. And then he's buffer than ever, and he's like, I love to fucking kick ass. I love getting strong. And they're like, why are you exercising? You're going to get hung in 2 days and die, idiot. What's exercising going to do for you? And he's like, I care not about the result. All I care about is that I constantly work towards my goal. That is what I will do until my dying breath, you English fucker.
Yeah, his legs get fucked up in jail because they torture him more. And then they put him in solitary confinement, which is just like literally a little concrete box in the ground. And amazingly, what does he do the second and his legs are broken, basically. His knees are fucked.
Yeah, he cannot stand.
Yeah, and even if he could stand, the confinement box is so small. So what does he do? He immediately reaches above himself and grabs the bars and just continues to do pull-ups.
It's the dopest shit in the universe. And then we cut to Beam. He's been on the run for a month, but how is he going to get... He's most wanted man in India. Everyone knows his face. He's everywhere. He's like, oh, fuck, we've been in this place too long. We got to get out of here. And right as they're saying this, a British search party comes in and says, hello, we're looking for Beam. Everybody stand still. We're going to fucking search the place. And this random woman who they'd never met before says, oh, actually, there's a guy with smallpox in there. Cough, cough. We need smallpox medicine. And she, like, exaggeratedly tries to, like, throw herself on the guards, being like, I lean against you for your support. And they're like, smallpox. And they leave. And Beam is like, whoa, you lied to save our lives. And she's like, why wouldn't why would I not help a countryman? It's just like my fiance always does. He does everything to help his countrymen. And they're like, dope, tell us all about him. He's like, I would love to tell you about my fiance. He's the best guy in the world. Let me tell you his backstory. And then we hear his backstory, which is, as we discussed, he lived in a revolutionary village where the village was planning to do an armed insurrection to destroy the British. However, he was the sole survivor after they, not the sole survivor and his family after they attacked and fucking killed a lot of them. And
I would also like to interject here. Rifles are so cool, just like rifles, like bolt action rifles.
Yes.
They're so fucking cool.
Because, like, I said to my wife as we were watching, because, like, this is the dopest shit in the world. Where the town is surrounded by British troops, and it's just Kid Rom with one bolt-action rifle, but he has, like, perfect cover. He has this huge log right in front of him that has, like, a little notch just for a fucking rifle. So he is able to load, aim, shoot, kill, load, aim, shoot, kill, load, aim, like over and over and over and over and over, and like nothing can stop him because he's in perfect cover. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, if these fuckers had like AR-15s, he'd be missed already. That's so not fun. It's bad game design.
Yeah, but the rifles make it so one Super Saiyan child can take out a platoon. Yeah. There is, I think, kind of a funny part where, like, I think by the time the 30th British guy gets headshot, the head of the platoon is like, we should change our strategy. This kind of sucks.
His tone is very like, we gotta change our strategy. It's so good. But the whole point is that his father, who's like the leader of this village, he's always saying like, we need to be perfect. We need to be ready so that when the time comes, not a single bullet will miss. And everyone's like, when can we train with real rifles? And he's like, you don't understand the true value of a rifle. I once heard it said to me by a British person. And like we cut to like the governor gives that speech again about like, do you know how much it costs to manufacture a bullet in Britain, just ship it across the world and get it here. By the time it's here, it's worth £1. Like he's been given that speech his entire life. It's like his favorite speech to say. And it radicalized this dude. And he's like, because of that, like we will be trained perfectly so that when the time comes and when we finally do have bullets, every single one will be returned to the British in their hearts. And it's like, oh, that's so dope. And so like the dying wish is like, son, one day you must give everyone a weapon. You must put a weapon in every hand. And he's like, dope, I'll be a cop to do it. I'm a vengeful corpse hound. And that fucking backstory being told, she's like, yeah, anyway, that's my husband.
You're leaving out a very funny / anime training moment.
Oh, give me.
Let me, which is, everything Tom said is true. The father is like, we will not fire rounds until it's time. We will not even practice.
Yeah, every bullet has the name of the person it is meant to kill on it. So like firing a bullet that does not kill that person is a waste.
And Kid Rom gets in trouble because he snuck off and shot a real round. And
fuck, I forgot about this.
And his future fiance is like, yes, he fired the round, but like let me show you what he shot. And they go and they walk, and there's this just big wooden target hanging from a tree that has a tiny little hole in the middle.
Perfectly in the middle.
And the dad is like, did you shoot that from that boulder over there?
The boulder is very far away, to be clear. The boulder is like, it'd be really impressive if he did it from that boulder.
And she's like, no, he did it from like the other continent. Like, pretty much. He wasn't even anywhere near that boulder. He was way fucking out there.
And then, his dad is like, oh, Rom, you're going to kick ass one day. Okay. So we cut back to the present, and the fiance is like, yeah, that's my husband. He kicks ass. I love him. Beam is sort of like gobsmacked because he understands now what Rom was doing, why he was betraying him, because he was like so devastated that his best friend, why are you doing this? Don't you love me? Don't you love your people?
Who carried me on his shoulders so often betray me like this?
And now he knows, and this is the most devastating shit, because he knows this, and he's the one who feels like a traitor, because he's like, I've done all this. I've done this entire campaign. I've caused all this trouble, killed all these people for one person, my sister. He's doing all this for the entire country. I'm so selfish and small in comparison to him. And
dude, his resolve is way bigger than mine.
And then the fiance is like, yeah, the thing about him, though, the thing about my husband to be Rom, kick-ass guy, I think the main thing is that he's going to get killed in 2 days, executed by the British. And Beam is like, oh, fuck running away. It's rescuing time. And Joe, the way that he finds Rom when he like infiltrates the little town where they're keeping him, the British evil hut zone.
Because he knocks, as you know, the solitary confinement cubes, these concrete little like cells, they're in the ground.
Yeah.
Like they are basically underground. And the way he finds his homie is he crawling around on his belly. He knocks on the ground with his fist, the special friendship rhythm.
Yeah, he pounds out a hot beat, which only a hot-blooded Indian dancer could replicate.
And then Ram, from his little cube, knocks the friendship rhythm back, and they do bro echolocation that way.
And Joe, okay, they find each other. Beam effortlessly tears the door off of the cell, even though it's still locked. And
it's kind of Superman shit, that's fine.
yeah, he lifts his homie out. And you may remember last time one of them had legs that had failed them after the dance-off, that Ram carried Beam on his shoulders. Now that fucking Ram's knees are absolutely ruined, it is reversed. And Joe, they do Mecha Shiva for real.
Fuck, that Venture Brothers joke where Hank and Dean are just saying Mecha Shiva as they stand on one another's shoulders. That's how this entire fight sequence now occurs.
Beam is doing incredible footwork moves and jumps and flips and kicks. Meanwhile, Ram, who is on his shoulders, is like doing heat actions on passing British soldiers. And as their ass is kicked and they're like flying through the air, he snatches their rifles out of the air and now has one rifle, shoots some guys, now has two rifles.
He's dual wielding these suckers. And obviously it's not an issue because he's so jacked from his constant pull-ups in prison.
Yes, and Joe, one of the dopest shits in the world occurs when he is out of bullets. Just wordless homie energy. He just drops his arms and Beam, without looking away from where he's running and all, without breaking stride, puts new magazines in.
Oh, it's so sweet. Because he also needs him to do the bolt action.
Yes, it's so good. It's so fucking... Oh, also, this is important to say. During this entire fight scene, which is the best shit in the world and features really nonsense feats of lower body and upper body strength from the two of them, this entire time, there is a song playing where the lyrics are about how cool Ram and Beam are, how awesome it is that they're killing guys, how reassuring it is that they're friends again, how cool that this all is, and how you feel watching it. And that's when it hit me. They put AMVs in the movie.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, you don't even have to make one. It's just part of it.
Yeah. That's the Bollywood promise. There will be an AMV.
like the whole appeal of the AMV, which is like showing dope anime fights to a song, and like the song is so full of emotion and it sort of like seeps into what you're watching, and it becomes this sort of like holistic experience where like the coolness of the fights and the coolness of the music are feeding into each other and creating something much more potent than the sum of their parts. It's just in the movie. You could have put it in movies the whole time.
It should be in the source material. A fan doesn't need to make it.
It's so good. It's like how like people will write like fanfic of like queer ships because like they're starved because there are no queer relationships in most media, you know? So like they have to do their best to like make a facsimile themselves because the people who are professionals won't ever do it. That it's I mean, there's still no queer relationships in RRR. However, there's AMVs. Like, people were making AMVs because the actual movies wouldn't do it. And now, finally, we've caught up.
Now, can we talk about the transformation?
Yes, we're finally there. Because they escape, and they get a little chance to rest and fully transform before the next dope scene.
Okay, as you recall, Ram's legs are fucked. Beam knows forest healing, so he gets some goop, and he rubs some goop on his buddy's knees.
They're now the best knees of all time. No one has had better knees. He also finds a shrine to what I assume is some sort of Indian war hero or possibly god of war. I don't know. I don't want to make an assumption. It's definitely some dope person who they made a statue of who has a bow and arrow. And Ram notices, those aren't stone bow and arrow. That's a real bow and arrow. and he becomes Luffy. He like becomes Sun Wukong. He's like Journey to the West guy. He's got his big flowing orange pants, and he's got his bow and arrow, and he becomes like the wild forest demon, and shoots 1,000 guys with arrows. Like this, we mentioned that like initially when he's like fighting the big crowd in the intro scene, it's not like a Muso game where everyone's standing still and letting him do it. At this point, yes, it is. This scene is a Muso game, and Beam and Rom are Muso heroes who can fight 100 guys easily.
Beam never uses a rifle except to melee with it, which I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
There is a very dramatic shot where he emerges from the water with a spear, and as you remember, he is the water element guy.
Yes.
So there's a little bit of that. So to get and then also Rom in this bow and arrow mode is very fiery. He's often shooting fire arrows.
Oh, fuck, it's so good. Because, like, the governor knows that they both escaped. And he's like, send the entire army into the forest and don't let them escape. We can't let them get away this time. And so, like, more and more people are pouring in. And as more and more weapons are being fired, like, more and more of the fucking forest is lighting on fire.
And there is a really good shot from, like, the governor's perspective on the roof of the mansion. And, like, he's just looking at the forest. It's, like, blowing up. And he's like, oh, boy.
Because he said, like, to the special forces team, like, don't shoot unless you have a confirmed kill. So basically he's expecting there to be a single shot, and it's just like an entire war going on that he's looking at. You talked about flaming arrows. This is the dopest shit in the universe. I was so fucking excited when this happened. So Beam does a dope move with his spear where like he like gets it in the spokes of a fucking motorcycle, and the motorcycle like flips over and explodes and like causes a bunch of shit to fly over the place. It kills a bunch of guys, and one of the things it causes to fly all over the place is a huge bandolier of fucking grenades that lands directly at Rom's feet. And Rom makes bomb arrows from The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening by putting fucking grenades.
He's pressing A and B at the same time.
He puts grenades on his arrows and shoots them at a big group of guys, and they all die. And it's the best thing I ever seen. He's Super Saiyan. Like, there's no other way to get around it. Rom and fucking Beam have both gone Super Saiyan at this point. They are no longer human beings. They have ascended into a new form.
At the least, we're talking Ultra Instinct.
Yes, I think that's fair. Because, I mean, there is at one point where actually Beam uses Kazuma Kiryu's beast style. Can you describe this point, Joe?
Oh, so in Yakuza 0, one of the fighting styles is beast style, and it's the best. And how it works is you just automatically grab objects from the environment seamlessly as you're swinging your arms around. Like if you are in front of a shop and you just start swinging, Kira will just grab a sign and beat people with it like in a completely fluid motion.
Yeah, there's no grab item button. You just hit the attack button, and if you're near something Kiryu can pick up, in the attack animation, he will just pick it up mid-swing, and then you'll be stronger because you're holding the thing.
Yeah. And Beam does this with a motorcycle.
It is. So I've been thinking of heat action Yakuza jokes throughout, but this is like undeniable because a motorcycle is coming towards him. The rider has been killed. It's just sort of, rolling. And we got a slow-mo shot where Beam does a downward punch on the front of the motorcycle.
No, he stomps it.
Oh, he stomps. Okay, he does a stomp. This causes the motorcycle to do a flip in midair as it is launched upwards. He then effortlessly catches the back wheel with his bare hands and then swings it around as a melee weapon as though it weighed 1 pound. It is so fucking good.
The stomp and motorcycle flip are in the trailer. Like I've seen that before I watched the movie. And even knowing it was in there does not take the shine off of it. It's so cool.
It's so cool. Also, this movie, I think, it understands something I think every action movie needs to know, which is you don't really need to try that much harder to, like, indicate kill achieved than, like, just have a character sort of vaguely paw at someone's neck and play a cracking sound effect, and then have the bad guy just fall down. Like, we get it. It's very sad. It's very simple, costs no money, and it's very satisfying. It's fine to just put that in 20 times, and they do.
I want to backtrack just a little bit to before the transformation, because we didn't talk about was honestly like my favorite fight sequence, which is when Rom is ready to betray the Empire, but he's still in cop mode, right?
Yeah.
There's a part where he is like an octopus doing UFC holds to 20 guys at one time.
Oh my god! Yes. He like has his hands on 2 guys, like one on either side of him, but somehow he's like locked up those guys with like 3 other guys, so that when he like does a neck slam and slams them down on the ground, like,
and it makes the crunch, the crack you just mentioned.
Everyone goes down. Like a whole line of guys. I don't know how it happens, but it's very satisfying to see.
Yeah, he's an octopus.
It's so fucking good. It's so good. He has a mustache. We haven't talked about his like. No one has mustaches anymore. Like, what American actor has a mustache? None of them. It's because, you know what it is? You know what it is? I think it's because, like, if you focus group it, no one is going to say that they would prefer a mustache, or rather, there's no group of people who over 50% of them would say they prefer a mustache. And so the focus grouped sort of drip feed of content would never serve you a mustachioed guy. But I think
there's also the cop connotation, which I guess works out because that's what he is.
Yeah, I guess. But it's
also just but it's not a cop stash because it's like really immaculately trimmed. It's longer than a cop stash.
It's luxurious.
Is it Mario Brothers length? No.
I mean,
would you say it is?
It's near there. It's definitely as sort of prominent as Mario's mustache is on Mario. Fuck,
yeah,
dude.
But sharper. It ends in. You get the sense if you ran your finger over the edge of the mustache, your finger would bleed.
Yeah, fuck you. Yes. Oh, we also didn't mention the reprise of Rom and Beam's first ever interaction, which was to give each other extremely vague hand gestures that described an absurdly convoluted plan that they both instantly understand. This happens again.
Yeah. They use their twin speak to this time, I think, just with like 2 quick hand motions and like a nod. What they communicate is the following. You should drive your motorcycle that you're currently riding, and I am riding alongside you on a horse. You're going to take your motorcycle and you're going to go up a ramp, and you're going to jump off of it. At which point, I will use a flaming arrow to shoot the motorcycle's gas tank, and then the activated and burning motorcycle will fly through the air and into the governor's mansion, specifically the part where they keep all their TNT.
And Beam sees these little hand gestures and like, got it, buddy, and does exactly that. It's so good. It's so good because it's very funny because you see the governor looking at the flaming motorcycle, and he's doing that thing that some villains do where they like are too proud to get scared or get out of the way. He's just like, if it kills me, so be it, but I won't die to something so crude. And you're like, is he gonna die? I would love if he died right now. But like, oh no, it misses. It just goes through the window. Pfft, okay. And then you see it slow-mo falling into this room, and you're like, what's this room? It's probably a room that has no TNT. And then you see a bunch of boxes, and you're like, what do these boxes have written on? Probably not TNT. And you see this TNT, and you're like, oh my god. And it starts blowing up, and you're like, oh, this is a little bit of explosives, but like only a few people are getting killed. I thought
there are so many more rooms.
I thought the TNT would be bigger than that, but yeah, we pan to the
so
next
many more
TNT
rooms
room.
of crates with shit that blows up.
It's by the time it's done, by the time we get to the final room of fucking TNT, we finally go back to the top floor where the governor's standing, watching all this shit and getting like sad because the British are being killed. And the dome, like the big huge dome on the very top of this mansion just like cartoonishly pops off and goes like 10 feet in the air and drops back down, and like the whole thing crumbles. It's so good.
Yes. And the governor doesn't die this way, but his awful wife does die this way because she is revealed to be wrapped up in a bunch of like barbed wire on a protruding wooden stake, a fitting end for the whip lady.
Yes. And then the governor, the last living British person in India, I hope, is met by Ram and Beam. And Ram recites his little bullet speech back to him, says, "Look at this bullet. You know how much this cost to get here? To manufacture it in England, ship it over here. By the time it's here, it's worth £1. Why, it's far too valuable for the likes of us. We should give it back." And they shoot him in the heart and he dies. It's the best shit in the world. You know what the really best shit in the world is? It's not so much that they just kill him. It's that when they kill him, they cut to a big, huge blood splatter that covers up a little thing that says the sun never sets on the British Empire. And it's just like...
Yeah, so we're Hindu nationalists now.
The propaganda works so... I am 100% India pilled. Like, I'm like, best culture ever. And
like, violently so. Like, I thought there was a Gandhi guy, but that might have just been a Civilization character.
Yeah, he didn't do any fucking heat actions, so I don't care about him. The movie the real ending is, of course, a huge song and dance number with the whole cast, and it's really fucking cool, as they all you think they would be. It does like the thing from like stage plays where everyone comes back and like takes a bow. Like fucking Ram's dad, who's like very dead. He just is back and he's like dancing with them and he's happy now. And they do this thing where every once in a while they will like gesture to a huge image of an Indian person wearing some fancy clothes in the background, and I'm like, I bet that's probably some sort of national hero. Oh, and the white lady who Beam was like trying to romance, she shows up in the dance and she's speaking the fucking language. She's not speaking English anymore. She has done the thing that all British people must do in order to regain their humanity, which is to give up their culture entirely and instead take up the superior Indian culture.
Yeah. It's anime. It's really like a Yakuza India game. It's like a spin-off game.
It's all about how the British people think having friends sucks ass. And
they really do think it sucks ass. They are so anti-friend.
Like there's a great scene where Beam is just like he sees his sister in the governor's mansion when the white lady invites him in for coffee, but he can't get her out because he doesn't have like a plan. He doesn't have an extrication plan. There's no extraction point, what have you. And she's like crying. She's like, "No, brother, you have to take me. You can't leave me." He's tearfully like, "I can't take you now. It's impossible." And he has to leave. And he's talking with all of his homies, all of his associates, about how horribly he's feeling because of this. And the line is like, do white people not have hearts? Do they not have children? Do they not know what pain is? And I'm just thinking about how the British people send all of their children to boarding schools. And I'm like, no, they don't know what pain is. They don't know what children... They see their children and they're like, yuck, hate this motherfucker. I would like to send him away from me for... I don't know, about 5 years, to a big room where he's going to be sexually assaulted and abused, either becoming an extremely broken person or becoming one of the abusers. And this is what all of my friends do to their children. The British people, if you're a British listener and you think we're being a little harsh, know that we're not actually talking about you. If you are a person who listens to Anime Sickos, you are not one of
You're going to heaven.
Yeah, you're
going to heaven, folks.
You're not one of the British that we're talking about. You're one of the people that the British we're talking about oppresses. You are the people who should be shooting a wall full of the zoo at the Queen.
As a good British person, you know that having friends kicks ass. You know, like you would never tell a main character that it's bad to have friends.
God. This movie's so good. You know, this movie, I gotta say, it really speaks to the decline of the American Empire. Uh, like, clearly, everyone knows that in every single way that you can measure, that this is an empire in total decline. Almost free fall, you might say. Our last real claim to power...
Well, not for scams. I think scams,
okay.
if you love scams, this is a great time.
Yeah, this is the wild frontier in terms of scams. Well, but our last real claim to power as a sort of like premier player on the world stage was pop culture. It used to be that like real movies, like a real movie, like the top shelf primo stuff, like the high quality stuff, that was Hollywood movies. If you were making a movie that was not American, you were making world cinema, you know? It was a niche. It was a subgenre that was put, like, it got one shelf in the video store. All the rest was fucking United States, American Hollywood movies, and that was how it was. That's just, like, watching RRR.
That has ended with this.
Yes.
It is over.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it probably was over before, but, like, watching RRR, nobody can deny it anymore. That, like, to put Marvel movies up against this is, like, foolish. Like, are you kidding me? Comparing the two? That's like baby shit. It's like comparing one grain of rice to a sumptuous feast.
There was such a good sense of place. There clearly wasn't green screen after green screen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, obviously there was CGI because, like, the tigers weren't real and shit, but everything looked really good. Like, it just didn't look like a rush job.
And, like, I think part of it is that, like, if you put songs and dances in, like, the main plot of a non-musical movie, it requires your stars to actually have, like, quantifiable skills.
Yeah.
And, like, the reason Tom Cruise is so still relevant, like, the reason I haven't seen the Top Gun movie yet, but, like, I've seen the Mission Impossible movies. They fucking whip. The reason that he is, like, still such a huge draw at the box office, despite being 60 and the weirdest man of all time, is that he has quantifiable skills. When you watch a Tom Cruise movie, you are seeing a person do something that you know is very hard, and it is exceptional to see it done. And, like, when you see a Bollywood fucking song and dance routine and the sharpness of their moves, their crispness of their moves, the fact that they actually are singing this song, those guys you're looking at now, they're singing the fucking song, and they're also acting in the movie, it's just like, oh, these are clearly exceptional people. And, like, it's been spoken of how, like, there's the new crop of, like, movie stars no one gives a shit about anymore. Like, the big draws are still, like, fucking Brad Pitt, Tom Cruise, like, Matt Damon, old guys. There's no, like, who gives a shit about Tom Holland? Nobody. Fuck them. None of these people have exceptional skills.
It makes me think of, like, how comedians in, like, the 20s weren't, like, just funny. You also had to be able to dance up and down stairs and roller skates while singing. You had to do everything.
Like, you also had to be the greatest stuntman of all time. You had to be like Harold Lloyd, doing crazy death-defying stunts all the time. Like Buster Keaton, and, like, make, like, special effects that to this day look incredible. Like the one where he jumps into that lady, and there's, like,
the lady holding a, like, little suitcase of stuff.
Yeah, and he, like, goes through it, and then she walks away from the wall, and it, like, looks in the suitcase, like, where'd he go? Nowadays, all you have to do is, like, be like, yo, transphobia is great, and I want them to die. And everyone's like, I have $1 million. And if anyone complains, you're like, I got yelled at, give you another $1 million. And Netflix is like, yes, that is in your contract that you do get an extra $1 million if someone complains. And everyone in the Atlantic has to say, this is evidence of the great debate over the transgender question. Which is the right side, death or letting them live? We can't ever know. And it's a bad scene.
But India has saved us from this by producing such a film.
Yeah. And another reason this is anime. We watched this on a file that was provided to us by a sicko homie by the name of Daniel Miller. And that's what I want to say. the file name of the file that we were given literally has MKV anime at the end.
It's not a lie.
Not a lie. It's right there. Folks, this has been an extra long episode. But that's appropriate, because this is an extra long movie that deserves the discussion.
That's also something worth mentioning, is that it is 3 hours long, which is certainly a long time for a movie, but it's like a whole meal. Like this is you're getting everything in 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like every sort of experience, visual spectacle and emotion that takes place within that long runtime.
Also, you can, and I did, split it into 2 viewing sessions, because midway through the movie, almost exactly to the minute, there's that scene where Ram is about to arrest Beam, and he's holding him up by the prayer cord, and there is a close-up of their hands both gripping this cord, and their arms transform into like stylized versions of themselves, where Ram's arm is on fire and Beam's arm is pulsing with water, and the background fades away to just be sort of like just a colored void. This is becoming like a stylized
That would be a
picture.
sick wallpaper for your computer.
It looks like a computer wallpaper, and this stays on screen for about a minute. This, to me, reads as part 1 over, do something else.
Get up, go walk around.
So fucking good. So good. Intermissions. Put them back in your movies. Jesus Christ. Another thing about RRR, that's anime. I forgot this. Good thing I remembered, because we're about to wrap up. I think proof positive. You can't deny that this is anime, because it has a fucking insane title that's impossible to say or discuss out loud. RRR. This is a fucking SSSS.gridman ass title.
Yes. Yep.
Just terrible. But good movie.
Yeah, it's good. It's anime. What else is there to say? Fucking watch it if you haven't already.
Yeah. If you have, watch it again. I feel like it would be better the second time. Maybe I'll watch it again. Shit rules. Anyway, that's all the time we have for Anime Sickos. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you.
Thank you for listening to Anime Sickos. I've been Tom, a sicko. You can follow me on Twitter at TomHarrison19. Joe is also a sicko. You can follow him on Twitter at ShariaUncle. You can follow Anime Sickos on Twitter at Anime Sickos, or email us at animesickos@gmail.com. Please leave us a review or something. I don't know. Tell a friend. Anyway, until next time, bye.